This is the Montana Outdoor Podcast, brought to you in part by Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, home of Boss Snowplows, CEM Truck Beds, and Diamond Sea Trailers. Just go to rmtte.com for more information. And by Superior Hardwoods of Montana, home of the largest selection of in-stock high-end wood products and flooring in the western United States. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. Now, get ready for more fascinating topics and the most interesting people you will ever find in Montana's great outdoors. We offer new podcasts most every Saturday. You can get a link to these podcasts by going to our website, montanooutdoor.com, or by going to our Facebook page, or just send an email to downrigger at montanooutdoor.com and say send a link to my email. It's that simple. Now let's head out with your host, Downrigger Dale, and see what's going on in Montana's great outdoors.
Thanks a lot, Manny. And as Manny just said, I am Downrigger Dale of the Montana Outdoor Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning into the podcast again, everyone. Sure love having all of you join us, and the number of you just keeps growing and growing and growing. And by all means, feel free to share with your friends and that. If you know of anyone that would love to listen to this podcast, let them know all about it. Of course, a lot of you come to us through montanooutdoor.com, but you can get the podcast really anywhere that you like to get your podcast from. We have a lot of people that go through Apple Podcasts. A lot of people are on Google Podcasts, Spotify, on and on and on. So just let your friends know, and it'll be all there. And we're there every week. Every Saturday is a new podcast. So thanks so much. And of course, as always, those of you that love to listen to us on the Montana Outdoor Radio Show, that's every Saturday morning. If you haven't ever heard of that, jump on in there. Want to say a special hello to all of our men and women in the armed forces who listen to us on a regular basis all over the world. We want to thank you very much for your service and hope we're bringing you a little piece of home to you. But thank you so much. Now, today, folks, we're going to talk a little bit about something that, well, it happens every year. 4 times a year, the seasons change. And we are in one of those kind of transitionary periods when it comes to Montana's outdoors. And the way that we always know that is, or at least the way I always follow it, is that I know it's time to get a new fishing license. You know, so many of us fish in lakes and reservoirs and that where you can fish all year round. Of course, some of our streams and rivers and certain areas actually do have a season where you can only fish at certain times. And of course, I remind you, check your regs before you decide you're just going to go jump in anywhere. So during this transitionary period, this is where we start to see some ice leaving lakes and that. I wanted to spend some time just getting you caught up on a lot of things that you're going to need to know. So often I get emails from you guys saying, hey, now wait a minute, what was this thing I heard about or that thing? Or, gee, what's the bonus points? What the heck is that now? I don't understand that. And I get a ton of emails from you parents saying, tell me again, how does this hunter's ed thing work? And especially this year with the change in it, we're getting a lot of that. So I thought, well, let's find a couple experts that definitely know all about this. And we are really lucky today because we got two of the best. And that is Greg Lemon and Emily Cooper from Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. And I want to thank both of you for coming on board here today. Greg, let's start with you. You and I have known each other quite some time. And of course, a lot of our listeners to this podcast also listen to the Montana Outdoor Radio Show. So they hear you every Saturday morning. At the beginning of the show, you talk about, well, what's been going on all week. But this is that big transitionary time. And you and I were talking a bit about this, that there's a lot of things and several changes that we're looking at. But first, Greg, just tell us a bit about yourself and what you do for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks.
Yeah, well, thanks, Dale. It's good to be with you. I am the head of the Education and Communication Division for Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, and so under my shop is a lot of our press releases, our website, but in our social media, our education programs, Hunter Ed, Bow Hunter Ed, our archery and schools program. So all of those things that have to do with Fish, Wildlife, and Parks and communication and education come through my shop.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, you don't have a darn thing going on.
Nothing really.
I know you're a very busy person. Now, Emily, you and I are just meeting for the first time, though we've chatted back and forth a little bit through emails and through Greg. But tell us a bit about yourself and what you do at Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks.
Hi, Dale. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate that. I'm Emily Cooper. I'm the Licensing Bureau Chief here at Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. And under my shop, we handle the sales for all the hunting and fishing licenses and recreation licenses and drawings. We handle those in our licensing shop. And then we also cover our call center for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. So if you call that general number, most likely you're going to get one of my folks.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, this is the start of a super busy time, I imagine, for you guys, because this is the time where we start thinking about, obviously, we got to get the new fishing license, but then it kicks in all the different applications for everything in hunting and all that. We're going to go through all that, folks, because there's been a few changes, and just mainly this is an important time because you got deadlines. And boy, so often I get one of those sad emails where someone goes, "Dang it, I missed the deadline. I didn't think about that." So and by the way, don't worry about trying to take a bunch of notes as you listen to the podcast, because when you found our podcast, you saw the show description. And what I'm going to do is in that show description, you'll see down towards the bottom, I'm going to put links to all the stuff I'm talking about. So that way you guys will just have links and you'll be able to click and go and get to where you need to go. Also, by all means, as we go through all these different things, if there's something that you have a question about, I will get you some areas of where you can go to get your questions answered, or you can always do like you do quite often, which I really do enjoy hearing from all of you. You can just email me, and that's, of course, downrigger@montanooutdoor.com. And Manny at the end of the show here will give you that email address again, and you can find it in the show description. So now we know what's all going on. So as I was saying, Greg and Emily, this is the time of the year that we start to plan as our winter outdoor activities start to wind down and spring and summer activities start to get going. So I want to talk a bit about that, and I want to start with an obvious one. March 1st marks the start of the new license year. Now, that means that that's the day you can buy your 2024 hunting, fishing, and conservation licenses and begin applying for all those permits that I was talking about and, special licenses and that. So let's start with buying our new fishing and conservation licenses, Emily. A great way to do that, of course, is to buy those online. In fact, I've used that a lot. I'm one of those guys that every now and then, as I'm heading out with a captain to go fishing, he'll look at me and say, "Now, you got your license, right, Downrigger?" And I'll go, "Oh, dang." And it's so great because I'm able to get on my phone and actually buy it right there. And that has saved my bacon many a time. So take us through what's the best way to do that, to get our new fishing license and conservation licenses online, Emily?
Yeah, thanks, Dale. Like you said, it's right around the corner. And also at Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, we've been working really hard to make that process a little bit better for you this year and a little bit easier for you to understand. So you have a couple options purchasing these licenses. You can go online to fwp.mt.gov, and there's a button on the top there that says buy or apply. So you can buy online, or you can go to a Fish, Wildlife, and Parks office, or you can go to an external provider like Bob Ward's or Cabela's or Walmart, and you can purchase your licenses that way.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, the 1st of March, we're going to open up applications and purchases for general licenses and fishing licenses. But, as far as the applications go, those are going to open for deer and elk permits, antelope licenses, deer and elk bee licenses, moose, sheep, goat, bison, bear, and turkey are all going to open on the 1st of March.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And again, for those of you, I'm going to have those links down there at the in the podcast description. So just hop down there and click and have at it. And hopefully these are going to be, as Emily said, pretty smooth and simple. I can't stress enough, it really is a great way to do that. Now, some of the other dates that always seem to sneak up on us, Emily, are the deadlines for applying for all the permits. And I mentioned that earlier, that I hear it so often where somebody says, dang it, I forgot about that. So take us through each of the deadlines, if you could, and talk about where we go online to get those applications in.
Okay. So, like you said, there's a couple big ones, and we like to make them real easy to remember. So the licensure opens on March 1st. Deer and elk permits, those applications close on April 1st.
Right. Okay.
Moose, sheep, goat, bison, those 4 species close on May 1st. Deer B, elk B, antelope, and antelope B, those applications close on June 1st. And then we have a couple, licenses that you do apply for. I want to throw out the paddlefish. That particular one. That application closes on the 22nd of March. So that one's pretty close.
Oh yeah, the 22nd of March. Okay, that's a big one. People love that. In fact, we right around that time when we're doing the paddlefish, we get so many great pictures of people that send in all these great pictures of that. So again, we're going to have all that where you can click and go, but that should be fairly simple. Now on the website, if people just don't listen and don't go down and do the clicking down in that, where do you go? Where on the website do you click to go? Do you just click like hunting, or where just kind of take us through if we were looking at your website?
You bet. If you were looking at our website, on our homepage, you just go to fwp.mt.gov. Right there on the homepage, up on the top of the screen, there's going to be a yellow button that says buy and apply. That's where you want to start. So if you want to purchase your license there, you click on that button and it'll walk you through. They're going to ask you for your ALS number and your date of birth, and you can go from there. So a new feature that we did this year on our online application is that when you click open that application, say, hey, I'm ready to buy this year, it's going to ask you, do you want to see what you bought last year? Because lots of folks say, hey, I can't remember which district I applied for. I can't remember if I got this. It's going to show you everything that you had last year. And if you just want to start and that application over again, you have that option this year.
Oh, that's great.
So you say, yep, I want everything I had last year.
Oh, wow. So that'll make it real simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That'll be pretty exciting. And then you can click on stuff and say, no, I don't want to buy my bear yet. Or, yes, I didn't buy my turkey early enough, but I like to purchase it now. So it's going to say everything that you bought last year and then everything that's available this year. So pretty easy start this year.
Yeah. That's going to really help out, because a lot of us are creatures of habit. So boom, it's going to be right there. Now, what about the deadlines? I know that you guys have really on applying for these permits. You guys have done a great job as far as making that happen pretty quick. So once the deadline hits, then it isn't that long wait that years ago used to be, that you find out pretty soon if you were successful in those. Can you give us what those deadlines are going to be for? I mean, not the deadlines, but when results come out in each of those you mentioned?
You bet. So when I gave you all those dates, April 1st, May 1st, June 1st, typically we hold the drawing 2 weeks after that.
Okay.
Between 10 days and 15 days. Some of them take a little bit longer, like the deer and elk permit. There's a lot more applicants for that. So that one takes about 2 weeks to turn that around. But typically, we get those done pretty quick.
And also, folks, of course, you can find that out right there on the FWP website. But then also, a lot of you that are listening to the Montana Outdoor Radio Show, and that we will remind you that those results are out now and things like that. So we do it. But if they wanted to just go online, do they go to the same spot you were talking about to get the results? Where do they find that on the FWP website?
So thanks, Dale. That's a good question. Once you want to find out your results, you're going to want to go to the same page, and that buy and apply button over to the right says My FWP. So you're going to log in there, and it will give you all of your drawing results. It'll tell you your bonus point status, your preference point status. It'll give you everything that you need to know if you log into MyFWP. Now, just a quick reminder, you do not have to have a MyFWP account to apply, but you do have to have one to check your status online.
Okay. Now, do you want to get into the bonus point thing now, or do you want to go through a few other areas first, and then we'll come back to that? Because that's a big one. I get there's a little confusion on that, and I want to make sure we clear that up. So that's up to you.
I'll keep it real simple.
Okay, so you want to go through that now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So bonus points, and I get emails everywhere from what the heck are bonus points all the way to, wait a minute, I know I had more than that guy, and he's getting the licenses and I didn't. So what? How is that fair? And clear up some of that for us so we see how this bonus points works. So start with, what are bonus points?
I'm happy to. So bonus points give you an extra chance in a drawing for a license or permit. So another drop in the bucket, if you will.
Okay.
And then, when we talk about, you gave me the scenario where, your buddy has no bonus points and you have 12 and he draws. Well, it's statistically possible to do that. Yes. And that does happen. It's not, it's a randomized drawing. Everything we do is random in that particular drawing. So a bonus point just gives you another drop in the hat and says you have 2 opportunities instead of 1, or however many bonus points. So in Montana, bonus points are squared before the drawing. So if you have 3 bonus points, we square those into 9, and then we add the application. So you're actually going to get 10 opportunities.
Oh, wow.
In the drawing.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The difference, so we also get a lot of questions about preference points. Preference points are only related to non-resident applications. So if you're a resident, preference points do not apply to you.
Okay.
And those just prioritize the distribution of those non-resident licenses.
Okay. So I was trying to think of, what's an analogy I can use to try to demonstrate how that can work. And the one I came up with, and correct me if this is not the appropriate analogy, but let's say you love to play the lottery and you go and buy 10 lottery tickets for Powerball, and one person buys just 1, but they win the Powerball. Now, we all know that very well can happen. Is that kind of the same scenario you're talking about in what we were saying of, gee, I had all these bonus points and my buddy didn't, but he still got it?
Exactly.
Okay, there you go, folks. Yeah. So now that you understand that, it's still a lottery system. So just be aware of that. And believe me, Emily and her gang are not sitting there going, I just like that Downrigger Dale guy a lot more. So we're going to make sure he gets it.
Yeah, we disappoint a lot of people, Dale.
Yeah, you're welcome to do that if you want, for me, but no.
We also get a lot too. Greg asks me every year.
So now, and both of you can jump in on this one, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because I know there's some stuff still going on that, but we have lately heard that obviously I think a lot of it happened around COVID, that after COVID a lot of people started rediscovering better places, and Montana really was one that came up. We saw our state parks really get busy and all that. And so some hunters, a lot of bird hunters, especially that I've seen in my emails, that they say, boy, there's a lot more pressure out there. And, we think that residents should be getting more preference in that. Greg, what is in the works there? I have heard that there might be some situations where maybe the non-residents start a little later, or and again, I'm going to spend a lot of time because it's kind of maybe or maybe not. But tell us a little bit about that.
So, Greg, can I start with preference real quick, and then you can lead into access?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dale, in Montana, residents are guaranteed 90% of available permits. So, when we go through a drawing, a non-resident is limited to 10%, a maximum of 10%. So, we do limit those through a drawing. As far as hunting opportunities on the ground, I'm going to let Greg take that.
Okay.
Yes. So go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's huge, and I'm going to guess a lot of people did not know that 90% goes to residents. That's a big deal.
And yeah, that's written in the law. Yep,
Okay.
Yeah.
the law says that.
So to take that to the on the ground example, if you're applying for a bull tag and there's 100 tags given out for a district, only 10 of those tags are going to go to non-residents.
Okay. Yeah. See, now, I hope everyone gets that, and you know, we're going to talk about some of that on the radio show too. But
And I would add with Emily on preference points. The preference points, when it's really important because this is something that resident hunters I think get really confused by because they don't have to deal with it. Is non-residents deal with preference points, so that's just for their licenses. So the preference points apply to their big game combo or their elk combo or their deer combo. They don't apply to the actual tags that they get or the permits that they apply for. So if you're a non-resident, you have to apply for those licenses. Once you get the licenses, then you get moved into the drawing for the permits.
mm-hmm.
Does that so
Yeah,
Emily?
so
I don't know if there's anything to.
Nope, that's good, Greg. Just real high level, I'll just let you know those particular drawings happen on the same day in a sequence. So those non-residents have to draw a general license first to even be put in the pool for permits.
Okay.
So that restricts them also. For example, we get about 50,000 applicants for about 23,000 available licenses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for those of you listening that are out of state, which, by the way, we have a ton. In fact, if you add it all up, we actually have more of you that are listening out of state because it's a great big world. Of course, we have a absolute ton of great listeners from all over Montana, and this show is for you. But also, you out of staters, you know, don't feel like we don't want you here because we do. And if you talk to most hunters all around the state, yeah, we're all welcome, and we love to have you. You're an important part of our economy. I'll put it bluntly, we like the cash you spend here in Montana at our hotels and restaurants and all that. So by all means, don't ever think that you're not welcome here, because you are, and we can't wait to see you. Now, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, let's tackle clearing up some of the confusion about hunters' education. I get quite a few emails from moms and dads that say, now I'm confused. In fact, one recently that was just a great question was, what should my kid just do the online? That seems like that's more convenient than the in-person hunters' ed. So we're going to tackle that, talk a bit about it right after this. I want to talk a bit about a very special company located in western Montana, Superior Hardwoods of Montana. They were established in 1977, and since that time, guiding customers through the woods has been their passion throughout their history. The main focus at Superior Hardwoods of Montana has been to provide the finest wide plank flooring and unique building materials available anywhere. One of the things I noticed right away about the owner of Superior Hardwoods of Montana, John Medliger, and his son Corey, and the rest of the staff there is they're very proud to offer the largest selection of in-stock flooring in the western United States. See, for over 40 years, they've been known for leading the industry in reclaimed and antique building materials, and the success that followed has allowed them to, now get this, stock over 11 acres of stunning architectural lumber that awaits the perfect addition to your home. One thing I want you to remember is just because they're located in Missoula, Montana, that does not mean they can't help you turn your home into a piece of historical art if you live somewhere else. They have been guiding folks from as far away as Hawaii and beyond through the woods for many years. So no matter if your project is located across the street from them, across the state, or somewhere else in the world, they can't wait to turn your house into a dream home. Their goal is simple. They stand ready to deliver the best choices with reliability and honesty, helping at any phase of a project with inspirational advice. And I'm not exaggerating when I say they actually treat their customers as friends and family. So the choice is yours. But if I were you, I would go to superior-hardwoods.com. superior-hardwoods.com. Of course, you're more than welcome to call them, 406-235-7452, or, they'd love you to visit 5120 Highway 93, just south of Missoula, Montana. They can't wait to guide you through the woods at Superior Hardwoods of Montana. Go see them. You're going to love what they do to your home. And we're back here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast. I'm talking with Greg Lemon, Emily Cooper from Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, and we're going through and getting you caught up on all the things that are transitioning here in this time of the year, and deadlines coming up in that. But Greg, I want to talk a bit about hunter's education, which is so important here in Montana. I when I was a kid, took hunter's ed, and it was back then, of course, that was back in the old days, and there was no internet or anything, so it was all in-person stuff. So let's go through there. First of all, one thing that we were getting a little confusion on is there's a new requirement for folks that do take the online course, because remember, folks, you can take hunter's ed online if you're 12 or older, or you can take the in-person course. But what's new this year is that if you take the online course, you now still have to, after you've completed that and passed, you now have to take an in-person field day. Talk a bit about that and tell us what that is and why that got put in place.
Yeah, well, thanks. Well, you explained it pretty well. So the we went through COVID and all the different changes that happened along those lines, and as we have come back to more normal, we wanted to keep the flexibility of having the online class for families, and but we also, with the objective in mind of educating and putting good, ethical, safe hunters in the field, we felt like it was important to have a field day for those students. And so if you take the online course and you're under 18, you're going to need to do a field day. And that field day is going to have a lot of the same things that the regular field day does. So there's going to be safe gun handling. There's going to be talk about ethics and those sorts of things, those sorts of field courses, and really the field day is something that you need to pass to be certified. So there isn't, it's not that you show up and you shake a few hands and watch some demonstrations. Students are going to have to show up and demonstrate some proficiency and learned skills in safe gun handling, and that's important to remember. So what I tell families is if our best and most effective course in producing safe, ethical hunters is our in-person courses with our highly dedicated and skilled instructor corps. And if you can't do that, the online class is certainly there for you. But don't take it if you think that it's just going to be a cakewalk, because the online class we're trying to introduce some rigor to that, so that it will produce the same quality of ethical and safe hunter that our regular in-person course does.
Okay. Now, I got an email and from a nice lady by the name of Susan, and she had a really interesting question. She said, my son RJ is going to take the online course, but he saw that a field day was coming up pretty soon in Billings, so he was thinking he'd get the field day out of the way and then do the online course. They can't do it that way, can they?
They have to do the online first.
Right. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and they if someone's crunched for time, that online course, I mean, they can sit down and do it in a few hours. And so it's not and they can get that out of the way so that they can take the field day. But they'll need to, once you're done with the online course, there'll be there's a certificate of sorts that you will get to then present to the field day that says you've taken the online component. Now you're there for the field day. And then once that's passed, then you have your certificate.
Right. And so if you want to find out, and we're going to get into the in-person courses here in a second, but if you want to find out where the field day courses are and, when they're going to be, there's an area there on the website that they can go to find that out. Now, refresh my memory where that's at.
Yeah, so fwp.mt.gov, click on Hunt, and then click on Hunter Education, and then you'll be able to find a class there, and that's how you find any of our classes in person or our field days. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now I want to hit you with another question that comes up quite often, I moms and dads have a lot of stuff going on. I raised 8 kids, so I know it's a lot of stuff happens, and so you get confused and you go, now wait a minute, who has to take hunter's ed, and what are the age groups? So can you go through that as far as who is required to take hunter's education, and then talk about the age groups as far as who has to take which type of course?
Yeah. So if you were born after January 1st, 1985, you have to take hunter's ed to hunt in Montana. And so that the cutoff date, I think when they passed that statute, the idea was eventually every hunter in the field would have taken hunter's education, would have been required to take hunter's education. So you have to take the online course, you have to turn 12 in the license before the middle of January in the licensure that you're going to hunt in. And that's a little bit of a complexity, but essentially, we just, if there's any question, you have to be 12 or turning 12 in that year to take the online course. Prior to that, there's the option of the apprentice hunter, and that limits that a lot. Mostly what we see with that are kids that are hunting with their parents, haven't taken hunter's ed yet, but that limits the on what you can hunt. So apprentice hunters can't hunt for I think it's just deer and birds, if I'm
right,
not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then if you're 18 or older, you can take the online course you're not required to have a field day, or you can take our in-person course. Mm-hmm. So anybody can take our in-person course.
And we've seen a lot of people, move into Montana from other states, which welcome to your new home, by the way. But if you've taken hunter's ed in a different state, do you have to take it again for Montana, or do you accept all states hunter's ed in Montana?
We accept them all.
Okay.
So you just need to have taken hunter's ed.
Okay. And so to prove that, they're going to have theirs, like say if you move from California up here, you're just going to have that certificate from California, right?
That might be an Emily question. Emily, do we just ask them to certify that they've taken hunter's ed, or do they have to produce a certificate?
They have to produce a number. Yep.
Okay.
When you apply, they're going to ask you. So if you do it in person, you're going to bring that certificate. But if you do it online, you can enter that certificate number.
Okay, because we are seeing more and more of that, of people moving into Montana that are now have become residents or are going to be becoming residents soon. And so at that point, now as far as, and Emily, maybe you can help us with this, just kind of popped into my head. When do you guys consider someone is now a resident and can buy a resident hunting license?
Good question. So you have to reside in Montana for 180 consecutive days. You have to meet a number of requirements. It's not just living here. This has to be your primary residence. You have to pay taxes in Montana. If you file taxes, you have to license your vehicle here, and if you have a vehicle, and you can't claim residency in another state. So you have to give up your California residency if you want to be a resident in Montana.
Right. We don't here. Well, in all the states, there's no such thing as dual citizenship.
Correct.
Okay. So just be aware of that, folks, and make sure that if you're new to Montana, but you meet those basic requirements, gather all the stuff Emily's talking about. Is there an area on the website or where's the best place for them to find out what all they need to know and have to prove their citizenship?
You can find that on our website as well, Dale.
Okay.
We took a good look at our landing page for our licenses, and we reorganized it quite a bit. So you can find all the residency requirements on that particular page. You can find anything related to bonus points, applications, drawing dates, youth licenses, military licenses. All that stuff is going to be on our website. And then if you have a question still, you can give us a call at our call center at FWP between March 1st and April 1st. We're going to have that call center open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Okay.
So folks get off work and they can give us a call, and we can definitely help them out. The online licensing system opens up every morning at 5 a.m. and then closes right before midnight every night.
And as far as the call center goes, I can speak from experience. Your folks are very helpful. So, but again, a lot of that, if you want to just do it quick, it's all online. But if you need that extra help, they are very helpful there. And going 7 to 7, that's going to help people be able to get in and do that. Now, before I close out the whole questions about education, I had one last one for Hunter's Ed, and this was a good question that I was asked as far as, okay, my son is at that age where he could take the in-person course or the online. So how do you decide which is better for your son or daughter to do? Greg, can you kind of give us an idea of why someone might want to do all in person instead of doing the online course, or vice versa?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So I think for students to be really successful at the online course, they're going to have parents, particularly if those kids, the under 17 or under 18 crowd, they're going to need to have parents that are engaged in that training with them, and that are willing and able to be able to work on the tenets of gun safety and safe gun handling. And so, there's a lot of families that don't have time for that, or maybe mom and dad aren't real avid hunters or aren't real comfortable teaching that kind of stuff to their kids, and in those families, they're the ones that I recommend go to an in-person course, because they're going to get hands-on in our in-person course. They're going to get hands-on instruction from our dedicated volunteers on how to handle a gun safely. And as we all know, those you practice, you learn habits when you're young, and you practice them your whole life, and they become part of what you do. They become part of who you are and how you handle yourself out in the field. And there's nothing more important when you're hunting than safety, and safe gun handling is the core of that. And, as we all know, everybody at some point or another is going to experience an accidental discharge, of a firearm. And the thing that makes that, just a startling experience rather than a tragedy is if you're practicing safe gun handling. And so, I just can't express the importance of that part of our hunter education program. And again, if parents don't have the time to work with their kids on that part of it, I just say, gosh, just have them do the in-person course.
Yeah, I just can't agree with you more, Greg, because this is one way to look at it, and especially for a lot of you folks that have just moved into Montana, and maybe you were never hunters. And, Greg, you brought up a good point. Maybe mom and dad really have never hunted. They don't know a lot about it. Don't look at this hunter safety requirement as just some formality that you got to get out of the way. This is really, really important because we're talking about your child's safety and the safety of those around them. So this is super important. And I'm going into my Reverend Moore side of things, but I'm going to get up and preach a little here on this. That I had a great conversation with a mom on this very topic, and she was saying, gee, that the online course seems like it's, I'm being selfish here, but she said, it seems like it's a little easier for me, and that I don't have to get him to the, my son to the courses and that. So, why wouldn't I just say, go there? And I said, let's look back. And this is where maybe some of this COVID and online learning thing kind of helps. I said, how did that go for your son online? And she paused for a while and she said, oh, wow, that was a disaster. In fact, when he got back into in-school learning, he had to relearn everything. He didn't retain anything that we had done online. I said, that ought to answer your question. She says, yep, it sure does. So this isn't something that is a formality that they just should get through and go. This is something they really need to retain. And it should be this habit. And, as Greg said, this part of what they do for the rest of their life to stay safe and make hunting this great, wonderful experience. So again, approach it as a really serious, and I hate to get over, but it's a life or death thing in some cases. So let's really be careful and, be honest with yourselves. And if your child is just not great at online learning, go to that in-person course. And actually, they're going to have a lot of fun. These instructors are fantastic. And I know you can speak to that, Greg, that Montana has some of the most incredible hunter safety education teachers in the whole United States, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And they're very dedicated to training safe and ethical hunters. And so, we're really fortunate to have the volunteer instructors that we have working with us.
Yeah. So just make sure that you really be honest and do that, because the more they learn, the better. Now, we're going to take one more quick break. And when we come back, there's been a few changes to how we make reservations at the state parks and these are some important ones because they're I know a lot of you use our state parks. They're wonderful places. And a lot of you say, well, I like to make all these reservations and get my year kind of set up because those parks do fill up. So don't go anywhere because this is some important information we'll talk about right after this. I know our regular listeners to this podcast have heard me talk about Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, but for those of you that are new here, let me start with the basics about Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. They are your locally owned Boss Snowplow, CM Truck Bed, and Diamond C Trailer dealer. They offer a wide variety of auto, truck, and trailer accessories and specialize in sales and service of trailers. Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer is conveniently located at 5680 Expressway in Missoula, Montana. Now, let's get into the stuff that truly makes them special and why they are the ones we recommend if you ever need a new trailer, a snowplow, or just need service and or advice. Let me give you an example. They carry the best snowplows on the planet. That's Boss snowplows. So that way, when you get sick of just getting by with what you have or sick of spending a fortune to have someone else plow you out, you can come tell the folks at Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer about what and where you need to remove snow, and they will help you find the perfect Boss snowplow to get the job done right now and likely for the rest of your life. I'm going to tell you something about these Boss snowplows that just amazes me, but I truly hear about it all the time once someone I know buys one. They always say something to the effect of, "You know, Rigger, I never thought I'd say this, and I know it sounds crazy, but I actually have fun plowing snow with my Boss snowplow. And crazier yet, I like it so much I actually look for places near me that need plowing and ask property owners if I can plow it for them." Gang, I'm not exaggerating. That is the Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer difference. They carry the equipment that not only is perfect for you, it actually becomes part of you. So, gang, don't end up hoping you get the right snowplow, trailer, or truck bed. Just go to rmtte.com. Look at what they have, then call them at 406-549-4243. Get all your questions answered, and then go have fun this winter. Thanks to Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. Go see them, rmtte.com. That's Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. And we're back here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast. Greg Lemon, Emily Cooper with us, and they have been giving us all kinds of great information. I want to thank you both so much for all the time you've given us here on this. Now, I don't know which of you want to jump in on this, or you're both, of course, both welcome to, but this year there's been some changes to the reservation process for making reservations for our great state parks around the state. Greg, can you or Emily, whoever, talk a bit about what these changes are?
Yeah, you bet. So in a year ago, the legislature, state legislature, passed a few laws pertaining to state parks, and one of them is they changed the reservation window from a 6-month window, so meaning you could make reservations 6 months in advance, to a 3-month window. So only 3 months in advance. So as you mentioned before the break, that people were used to sort of getting on the line early and starting to make reservations for the summer, that's going to be a little different this year. They're going to have to wait a little bit more. And then another change was that the maximum stay changed from 14 consecutive nights to 7. And then another one is that at least 20% of our state park campsites be available on a first come, first served basis, meaning that they're not reservable. And so all of those changes were really geared at having more availability for people at our state parks. And so meaning, that they're not going to decide to go camping, on a Monday for the next weekend and not have any campsites available anywhere in the state. That smaller reservation window is going to allow for more campsites to be open and more flexibility for people who are wanting to get outdoors and spend some time in our state parks.
Yeah, and I kind of like those changes myself because, I think some people would go, well, I'm just going to kind of reserve a bunch of stuff because I'm not really sure. And then what happens is, that whole park system kind of gets clogged with all that stuff. And then, lo and behold, they don't show up. And now we got all these people that wanted to go, and we still have open sites. So that's an important one. And I really love the idea of this having first come, first serve a few more of those, because I always tell people, when you really had your heart set on wanting to go to this certain campground and it's all full, it never hurts to just stop by and ask, hey, any open sites? I do that a lot. And most of the time, and it's not guaranteed, but most of the time I end up getting a spot. So it's really, and I think this is going to give us more of those opportunities, because you know how we are. We're out enjoying the great state of Montana. Well, heck, all of a sudden you say, I want to stay an extra day or two, but I want to go down the road a ways. So that's, I think, a good process. Have you got any feedback from people saying if they like that or not, Greg, yet? Or
Well, not yet, but it'll be interesting to see how it works this summer. And that, because it is, I think it is going to be a little bit of a change, but we'll see how it works. And we've got the change in place, and if we'll be able to make it happen. And if people have thoughts or questions, they can sure reach out to us.
Yeah. Yeah, and as I do every year on the podcast here, is as we go along, I always like to do several podcasts just kind of featuring different state parks around Montana. So often, and I'm guilty of it too, there's state parks that I didn't even know anything about. So on the FWP website, there is a place you can go and look at all the different state parks and learn about them, right?
Yep. Okay. Yep. Just go to fwp.mt.gov, and when you get there, just click on state parks, and there's just a ton of information on our state parks.
Yeah. And I think you spend a little time on there, you're going to realize that just right out your back door are some great places to go. So I kind of like the way that this is all come together here for the changes in the state park, and I hope it goes well. We'll find out how that goes. Now, before I let you two go, I've squeezed you both like lemons to try to get everything out of it. Is there anything else, Emily or Greg, that you wanted to mention out there that you think people should be aware of during this transitionary time?
I got a couple of plugs, Dale, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I just want to remind everybody, don't wait till the last day to apply. Give yourself some time. We get really, really busy when we get close to deadline dates. So keep that in mind. Also, double check the regulations when you apply. Things change every year. When you call up that feature, buy everything I had last year, make sure that that's still what you want this year. And then one more is take a look at our website. And if you have any questions, maybe you can find it there. Otherwise, please feel free to give us a call.
Okay. And what's that phone number, Emily, to get into the call center?
Yep. Our licensing call center is 406-444-2950. And again, we're open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. from March 1st through April 1st. And
for our folks that love email rather than call, is there an email for just general questions that you guys can that's out there that people can do it that way if they just want to ask a question of, hey, why is this done this way, or give a suggestion or whatever? Is there a general email that is out there that people can use?
Yeah,
we've got a few of them, so I'll let Emily give the licensing one.
I'm not 100% sure of the licensing one, Dale. I'm sorry. I don't want to give the wrong address when you're asking me, but they can find it on the license page.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot, because I'll find that, and I'm going to put it in the podcast description. So I'll make it so easy for you guys. All you'll have to do is click the link, and it'll actually automatically open up your email program, and you can type away. So
good deal.
Anyway, so
yeah, Dale, there's another thing I wanted to mention, and I don't want to open up a can of worms, but I do want to mention, particularly if people get on and they apply for everything right out of the chute, is the Deer B license, or the Deer B permits that we have in Region 6 and in Region 7 this year. The commission made a change on those, that they're going to be valid only on private land. Mm-hmm. And so Yeah, and that's a change from previous years. And then another change that was made, and I don't know, I think this one was from the legislature, was that it limits the number of deer bee licenses that non-residents can hold this year.
Okay.
I'm just reading right out of the regulations. Non-resident combination license may possess 2 deer bee, and non-residents who do not hold a non-resident combination license can possess 1 deer bee.
Oh, okay.
So that's a change, and that, those changes are aimed at protecting deer herds, which have been struggling a bit out in eastern Montana. And so, we just want hunters to make sure that the best thing to do, like we tell everybody every year, is just make sure that before you apply for those permits, that you look at the regulations and know what those permits are good for this year, and look at all the details so you're not surprised by any changes.
Well, and one of the things for those of you that are regular listeners and one of the things I'm going to do a little different this year is because we really got some great response. Everybody loved that when I had some of your biologists on and talked about, how the different herds were doing in different areas and also in the fish biology side, and talked about the health of the fisheries and different ones. And people seem to really like that. So we're going to do more of that this year. So just, stay tuned to the Montana Outdoor Podcast. And as, we get closer to certain seasons starting and we'll try to get you those kind of information and help out. I know another popular one was when we talked about the upland game birds and got into, some of the areas that people hadn't even thought about going to. So anyway, we'll do more of that too. And I really appreciate the FWP giving us such great access to all these knowledgeable people, because it's been a lot of fun to sit and learn with them. So, and as always, you guys can always email me. I've been nicknamed, who was it gave me the nickname that I'm, in some cases they say I'm the FWP concierge. If you need something, just get it to me and I'll find out the answer for you. I'll hunt down who it is, which usually means I call up Greg and go, hey, do you know a guy that would know, or a gal that would know about this or that? So anyway, feel free to always just email me and I'll do my best to get you the answers you need to. So we'll try to keep it posted. Now, you two don't be strangers. I'd love to have you on again as we go along here and get closer to seasons and because this was great information. So, Greg and Emily, thank you so much for spending the time with me today.
Thank you, Dale. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate the time, and it was fun being on your show.
Yeah, thanks, Dale.
You bet, guys. Thank you very much. And there you have it, folks. Mm-hmm. That is going to give you a lot to crunch through and think about. Again, I want to remind you that you can get into the podcast description there, find all those links you want and And again, I'll try to keep you posted and remind you of some of these deadlines as we get closer to them and And if you have any questions, always just let me know. We'll get you the answers. Thanks for listening to the Montana Outdoor Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Montana Outdoor Podcast. It has been brought to you in part by Superior Hardwoods of Montana, home of the largest selection of in-stock high-end wood products and flooring in the western United States. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. And by Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, home of Boss Snowplows, CM Truck Beds, and Diamond Sea Trailers. Just go to rmtte.com for more information. So what did you think of today's podcast? Send your questions and comments to Downrigger at montanooutdoor.com. We should be dropping a new podcast this next Saturday. Until then, we will see you soon out in Montana's great outdoors.